It's a new generation, young, hungry fighters, ready to go. You know, I mean, y'all should be happy, man. Y'all should be excited. I really, truly believe that.
How did you feel about fighting on CBS television, on public television? Was that a thrill for you?
Honestly, it's a dream come true. You know, I can really just remember the words of Ben Getty. Ben Getty, he was like a broken record, man. I mean, his words never die with me. He said, it's not about the promoter. It's not about the manager. It's about the networks. And the beauty is that we have a manager. We have a promoter who understands that philosophy. And bringing boxing back to prime time, bringing it back to the people. We were live on Facebook today. There was a comment, Keith Thurman versus Danny Garcia, pay-per-view. I don't want pay-per-view. I don't want you to pay for this entertainment. There's too much world-class athletic entertainment for free. I want all of America to see me. I didn't have HBO growing up. I didn't have Showtime growing up. And if you have HBO and you have Showtime and they make it pay-per-view, now you gotta come out your pocket some more. I'm not trying to gouge the American people and the American public. I want to get everybody on my side. I want everybody to have an opportunity and a chance to witness one time. And I want boxing to come back to the forefront of network television.
What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. So I had to talk about it. The morning after, Thurman-Porter was a great spectacle, and it's what boxing needed. A fun fight. It was on free TV, and you guys seen the title and clicked on the video. I want to talk about pay-per-view as a whole, 2016, and where we're at. So as you can see, I'm on Sean Porter's verified Twitter account. He posted a pic of him and Keith Thurman. They're all smiles. It says morning after, a great fight against a great guy. Looking forward to doing it again. Keith Thurman, Thurman-Porter too. So, I mean, what these two did was phenomenal. It was action-packed. The numbers for the viewership, the Nielsen ratings or whatever, to this point, at this time that the video is being made, haven't come back, so I don't know, but I imagine they would be good numbers because of what we got with the fight. And you got to keep in mind little things like this. I try to analyze everything when I make these videos. And the co-main event was not even the original planned co-main event, which had probably, it was a championship fight, which is automatically, typically perceived as better, you know what I mean, because it's a title fight. And the names were a little bit more known. And that was Abner Mares versus Jesus Cuellar. Unfortunately, Mares, he had some problem with his vision, and New York's very strict, their athletic commission, so it looks like that fight got pushed back. But that was the original co-main event, so imagine that was on just because you had a bigger name, right? Now, don't get me wrong, the Molina-Jarrett Hurd fight was a fun fight. It was kind of one-sided, but Molina was very game and very tough. He couldn't find the answer to what Hurd was doing. But it was a good substitute, so I'm not taking away from that particular fight. Check out my post-fight thoughts on that particular fight. But what I'm saying is basically, imagine if it had been the initial, original, planned fight, which is Mares, who has a good fan base, and he's been around the block. You know what I mean? He's considered probably a veteran at this point in the game, right? Or even what if it was like a Broner? What if Al Heyman just said, yes, I'm gonna really load this card up, put Broner versus like a Berto or somebody, but like Broner versus Berto or something on the undercard. Can you imagine that? So I'm waiting for the numbers. I was just thinking, check out Premier Boxing Champs. Make sure you go to their website. It has like almost 60,000 views, 51,000, 792 likes, 12 dislikes. I was kind of skimming through the comments, and people were feeling it. People punishing blows by Thurman, obviously drunk idiots in the crowd. Thurman clearly won. Fucking Black Gotti Ward. I mean, comments like this. I told you, I talked to Mickey Ward's daughter. Oh look, there's my video. I talked to Mickey Ward's daughter, and she used to go to the fights as a kid, you know what I mean? And she says it was reminiscent of her father. She says, I'm having flashbacks. That's one of the highest honors that people are even comparing this to Gotti Ward, because I remember the first time my dad had that Gotti Ward, I believe it was on VHS, and he was like, son, you have to watch this. I don't think he called me son, but he made me watch it, and I was like, wow, blown away. So what these guys did was phenomenal. Can't wait to see the numbers. Now, I got to talk about the subject at hand, which is basically the pay-per-views and where do we go from here. To me, a fight like this, what we got, it makes it really hard to justify Canelo versus Liam Smith on pay-per-view because of what we just received and got here. We had two young in prime fighters with, between the two of them, one loss, which is the same situation with Canelo and Liam Smith. But the biggest difference, Liam Smith is undefeated and Canelo has the one loss to Floyd Mayweather, even though I thought he lost to Laura too, but on record he only has one loss, right? So same situation. But the biggest difference is both of these guys have been built up. Both of these guys have been in headlines. You look at Keith Thurman, he's been in headlines because he's called out Mayweather. He's been in headlines because a lot of people likened him to matching him up with like a Earl Spence Jr. Sean Porter fought AB. That was a big fight, did good ratings. And these guys, I mean, it goes without saying that these guys are more exposed to the boxing masses than a guy like Liam Smith, especially in the States. You know what I mean? I don't know how they're managing his career over in the UK. So it makes it really hard for me. I'm like trying to wrap my head around it to justify how fans can watch a fight like this with a solid co-main event, very solid, and this is on free TV. Meanwhile, you have to pay to watch Canelo versus Liam Smith. Another example, because I leave no stone unturned with my videos. I'm looking at upcoming fight next month, Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol. Another excellent fight. That is also on HBO pay-per-view. But the thing is this is the difference. Top Rank and Bob Arum, he's been around the business. He understands the business. So he's doing his best. He already admitted to the public that he didn't even want Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol to be an HBO pay-per-view. He already declared that, right? There's articles, you guys, a simple Google search can reveal that, right? Arum said he didn't even want it to be on pay-per-view, but based on the HBO budget cuts, this is what they had to do to make the fight. But Bob Arum does understand the business, and he's been around, and he has a good stable. So he's putting Oscar Valdez on the undercard. You know what I mean? A rising star. I like Valdez. I like how he's looking. He's also putting Gilberto Ramirez. He's trying to load the card. Even without a loaded card, the main event. This is the only thing with the Crawford Postol. That's an excellent fight. Is it pay-per-view? To me, I would pay for it because I support good boxing. I've always, between me and my brother, I've always got the fights. I remember I had people over for Mayweather versus Oscar De La Hoya. It goes back. I've really paid for really all the fights, all of Pacquiao's fights, all of Mayweather's fights. The only Pacquiao fights that I didn't pay for were some of the later ones where he was fighting like Chris Algieri. I'll be honest. See, I don't have to lie to you guys. I didn't pay for that, and I didn't even pay for the Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez 4 because I thought the first fights were close. We had seen it 3 times. I thought Marquez got robbed, definitely in the third fight. So I was like, I'm not paying for this. And it happened to be an action-packed, balls-to-the-wall fight. I did stream it and I did watch it. I think I streamed it or I went to someone's house, but I wasn't paying for it. And it turned out to be a very good fight. But that's just completely being honest with you guys. But the thing with Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol, do I know if it'll be, I want it to be successful. That's the whole thing. I don't know if both guys have the name and the star power to make it successful, but I support good boxing. So on my channel, what I'm going to try to do is do my best to help Top Rank make that a success. Now, I'm trying to go to the fight in Vegas. I'll probably, most likely, I have to look at flights and stuff, but I'm going to probably try to go to the fight. If I don't, then I will buy it because I support good boxing. So do I know if it'll be a commercial smash hit? I don't know. I hope so because of what both fighters are doing. Victor Postol, he fought for a vacant title, stopped Lucas Matisse, a guy who's never been stopped, and a guy who was a feared puncher and ran through a lot of other guys, right? And his first title defense, he's fighting a guy like Terrence Crawford, ambidextrous. He can fight almost better as a southpaw. We know it. Every fight that he's had in a new division at 140, he stopped the people. Terrence Crawford, same thing. He fought an Olympic gold medalist, went to Ricky Burns' backyard. So I'll do everything in my power to give this fight exposure and to promote it. The biggest thing that I have, it's HBO pay-per-view, and I don't know, there's a lot of surface area boxing fans where they may or may not pay for it because like, oh, I'm not paying for that because it's not two big names. You know what I mean? Like, or huge names, I guess you could say, like Mayweather, Pacquiao. So bottom line is this, it's a great fight. And hopefully this is what I'm trying to do. Boxing fans got to unite. We got to understand what we want and what we're getting, you know what I'm saying? And Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol, I really hope you guys pay for that because that's a good fight. And like I said, Bob Arum and Top Rank, they're trying their best to promote it. They're trying their best to load the undercard because of what they have. I can't say the same for Canelo versus Liam Smith. Plus, who's going to be on the undercard? I mean, are we going to see an undercard with David Lemieux versus De La Rosa, the guy he missed weight and didn't fight? I don't want to see something like that. I mean, it's not like, you know what I mean? If they put like David Lemieux versus Curtis Stevens, okay, that's good. I don't have no problem with that. Or David Lemieux versus Danny Jacobs and other people like that, which is definitely not logical because of the Al Heyman, De La Hoya stuff. So I don't see that happening. But they would have to do an extremely good job to fill the undercard, you know what I mean? And it's crazy that they would make that an HBO pay-per-view. Now, Liam Smith, I'm not trying to bash him. The fact is, most people don't know much about him. Dante's Boxing Nation and my dude Fred, they have a video on their channels. Fred filmed it. He was at the Thurman-Porter fight. He's talking to WBA champ Danny Jacobs, cancer survivor, powerful fighter, coming off the Quillen stoppage, and he asked him about the Canelo-Liam Smith fight. He did not even know. He said, who? Liam Smith? Oh, so Canelo's fighting a guy I've never even heard of? That's bad.
Canelo Smith.
Canelo who?
Canelo Smith.
Who's Smith? Is that Canelo opponent?
It's official.
So I don't know anything about that. You're telling me right now, meaning he's fighting somebody that I've never heard of.
When you have a professional fighter who sometimes is a substitute analyst and commentator who is only one division above that division of Liam Smith, and he doesn't even know who Liam Smith is. He don't know nothing about him, right? Because normally as a fighter, I talk to fighters all the time. Normally as a fighter, you're checking people in or around your division. You want to be in tune with it because they might start coming for you. You know what I'm saying? So you pay attention. Ask Danny Jacobs if he knows who Demetrius Andrade is. I guarantee you he does because he probably fought him in the amateurs, right? And even besides that, Andrade is making a buzz. He's making noise. He just stopped Willie Nelson. Ask him about the Charlo brothers. Ask Danny Jacobs if he knows who Jermell and Jamal Charlo is. And I guarantee you he will because of the level of exposure they're getting on PBC. They're title holders now. One stopped Cornelius Canine Bundridge after he ran through Carlos Molina and things like that. But he does not know who Liam Smith, and that was the consensus that I've heard from a lot of fans, including myself. I personally don't know much about Liam Smith at all. I just later found out in two separate occasions that he was related to Caleb Smith. I know Caleb Smith, but I didn't know that was his brother. You know what I mean? And I didn't know Paul Smith was their brother. I didn't know it was a family of brothers, that they were all related. Smith is a very common last name. So the point being is, it's bad. It's bad when professional fighters like Danny Jacobs don't even know who this man is fighting. So if he doesn't, you expect casual boxing fans to know a Liam Smith? And then I can't help but keep considering the fact of what we got with this fight, a Thurman-Porter. They did it. What more could you want? They were humble. Even Sean Porter in his loss, which a lot of people thought he won. I personally had him losing a round or two. Thought it was a good, competitive, close fight where no one's stock goes down. But either way, he was very humble. He says, hopefully we could do it again. He's a gentleman. He's a hell of a guy. And then same thing with Thurman. He wasn't, oh, Porter's a bitch. And you know what I mean? There was no trash talk except for before. And they put it all in the ring. You know what I mean? They were both willing to go out on their shield. They both got hurt in that fight from what I've seen. and they both sparred in the past, which is very similar and eerily similar to Canelo and Triple G, who have sparred a couple years ago, just like these two sparred a couple years ago. But the difference is these two knuckled up and actually settled it in front of cameras and millions of viewers, right, on free TV. So it's not looking good. It's not looking good for Canelo Liam Smith, because now boxing promoters, they're going to have to start justifying these fights that we're paying for. People aren't just trying to arbitrarily pay for things. When you're getting two of the top 5 welterweights, it's an event that speaks for itself. You know what I mean? But they're gonna have to start justifying as to the boxing fans why we're paying for this. Like, bare minimum, okay, you had to make Canelo Liam Smith. Let's say you want Canelo to fight a 3rd time this year, so you just wanted that fight, right? Despite the vacating of the belt, and you say you want to acclimate to the middleweight 160, but you're heading the other direction by shaving an extra pound, something you haven't done in your last 5 fights. We'll forget about all of that, and we'll say you want a 3rd fight. But to put it on pay-per-view, like, seriously? But Canelo Kirkland, you know what I mean? That should have been on pay-per-view if Liam Smith is. You know what I mean? Why wasn't Canelo Kirkland on pay-per-view? You know what I mean? Because that was a guy, at least people knew who Kirkland was. He had knocked out Glenn Tapia and then sat on the sidelines for a little bit. But he's been in wars with like Angulo. We don't really know much in the States about Liam Smith. And that's the one you decide to make pay-per-view. Again, you look at Top Rank. Terrence Crawford versus Victor Postol. No matter what you say about the fight, like, oh, it'll bomb or it'll tank, even if that is to be the case, it's a great, meaningful fight at 140. It's the best fight. Even if Broner stayed at 140, it's the best fight, because those are the 2 best fighters in most boxing experts and analysts' eyes. You know what I mean? But Broner, he lost his title, and then he moved up to 147, he says. But it's the best fight that could be made at 140. Matisse got stopped, Danny Garcia moved up, Broner moved up. What better fight is there at 140? So even if it bombs, which I hope it doesn't, even if it did, you still got to give them credit for making that fight 2 champions, a unification. Like, are you serious? And we're talking about Canelo Smith, and we have to pay for that. Like, it's really not making sense. Another thing that I want to say is Golden Boy put a lot of this pressure on themselves, you know what I mean? Constantly bringing up Floyd in interviews. Like, they would have their own events. Let's say Canelo Khan, and they'll bring up Floyd. They would have Canelo Kirkland. Oh, we're not going to do like the fight last week, referring to Mayweather Pacquiao, things like that. Things that made the Golden Boy and Oscar and stuff seem salty, right? And there's some people that are going to get mad, but fans got to get off of that tribalism and, oh, I don't care. We need to approach the game and get what we want as fans. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are looking forward to Canelo, Triple G. People were looking forward to that, right? And it doesn't look like we're getting it anytime soon. And then, like I said, it's to make matters worse, what we are getting as a substitute, it's not the best at 154, or at least the guy who's proven that he's the best. It's a guy that we don't even know, and that's the fight. And this is, I want to show you guys this. I think I retweeted it. Tom Loeffler, K2, Triple G's promoter. Great fight, Thurman-Porter, respect to both warriors. So he liked it. He has nothing to do with Al Heyman. He has nothing to do with Sean Porter or Keith Thurman. He's his own promoter, trying to make his own fights, right? Kevin Iole of Yahoo Sports. No doubt the action in Thurman-Porter and the fans' reaction shows the sheer absurdity of putting off Canelo versus Triple G until fall of 2017. I mean, so you guys can't, like, the funny thing is people try to make this like, this is, oh, ego, you just hate Oscar, you just hate Golden Boy, or you just hate Canelo. It has nothing to do with him. I respect Oscar, but Oscar didn't even do this when he fought. Oscar fought dogs. Oscar fought real life. Mayorga, a shit talker. He fought Fernando Vargas, who was, you know what I mean, clearly powerful, you know what I mean, for Rose, and they had bad blood. He fought Ike Cortez. He fought Pernell Whitaker. Even if you don't think he won some of those fights, he still fought him. Felix Tito Trinidad, which he should have won. He beat Trinidad to me. So he didn't even do that. So it has nothing to do with hating Oscar or Golden Boy or Canelo, but he wasn't even doing that in his career, where he would just out of nowhere, when you know what I mean, after his biggest fight with Mosley or whoever, and then he's fighting a guy we've never even heard of after he's become a pay-per-view star. He fought Mayweather, Hopkins. I mean, come on, man. So you can't, a lot of people try to segregate this. Only TMT lovers, or, you know what I mean? Only people who are of this demographic or this group, this channel, you know what I mean? They're the only ones complaining about Canelo, Liam Smith. That's smoke screens. They want you to believe that. But I just showed you tweets from two separate people who embrace Thurman-Porter, and one of them is agreeing that it's absurd to put off a Canelo Triple G fight because of what? The fan reaction. That's what this is about. We're the ones that pay the bills. You know what I mean? When I used to work at Lowe's, I was a salaried manager, and I was doing like the little manager training or whatever. And the store manager, there was a weird situation, and bottom line is this. The store was not at fault at all. It was like an appliance order, but the reason it didn't get delivered on time was the customer's fault. It really was, because the delivery drivers tried to call, then they tried to call the alternate number, all kinds of stuff. Then the customer got pissed and started like yelling at us and stuff like that. So it got escalated to the store manager. One of the managers made an executive decision to not compensate the customer, blah, 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 right? Then they got mad, wrote a letter to corporate, and the store manager gave in to their demands and gave what the customer wanted. Even though the store really wasn't at fault, it was really the customer's fault. And then we were talking to the store manager, I was talking to the store manager, and I'm like, man, that was a tricky situation. But he said, yeah, it already escalated to corporate, and it wasn't worth it. You know what I mean? This is a customer. They have a credit card with us. They have a long purchase history through us. So it was better to make the situation right and appease the customer, even if they were slightly wrong, and create that customer in additional revenue for the future, than to say, you know what, you were at fault. You should have answered your phone. Fuck you. Good night. You know what I'm saying? It didn't make sense. So it's the same thing. He said, my store manager said to me, if it weren't for the customers, then there wouldn't be us. And that's true. That's the same for boxing. If there weren't boxing fans and all these diehards and people buying tickets and Born Ready shirts and all this stuff, watching, viewing, giving the viewership, there would be no need for boxing promoters and boxers and fight cards, because nobody's paying attention. So we got to salute the people who are doing it right. The Keith Thurmans, the Sean Porters, the Victor Postols, the Terrence Crawfords, the Sergey Kovalevs, the Andre Wards. And we got to put our foot down, draw a line in the sand of what we want as boxing fans going forward. And I think fans have already started doing it. Like, you look at fights that shouldn't have probably been made, Canelo versus Khan, the numbers weren't great. A couple years ago, maybe the numbers did great. You know what I mean? When Canelo, it was a point where probably Canelo could do no wrong. When he's undefeated fighting Josito Lopez, that was a mismatch. You know what I mean? A guy who barely moved up to 147 had a fight he was losing on the scorecards to Victor Ortiz, but somehow broke his jaw in a freak accident because Ortiz had his mouth open, and then they made the fight for Canelo at 154. Cool. And it competed. This is how I know my boxing, because I remember this stuff vividly. Me and my brother were watching it. Canelo versus Josito Lopez was on the same night as Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez. And I remember me and my brother watched the Chavez Jr. We watched Chavez Jr. versus Martinez first, and then after watched the Canelo versus Josito Lopez, because we did on what was more important to us. And at the time, the Chavez Jr. versus Martinez was the more winnable fight, or the more competitive fight, because of Chavez's size and stuff like that. So that's how long that's just one example. But the point being is, back in the day, maybe Canelo could get away with Liam Smith and still do good numbers, or Amir Khan. But I think the fans are starting to speak up. And it's not even just the Canelo fans, it's boxing fans. You look at Manny Pacquiao versus Tim Bradley. Most people I talked to, they didn't want that fight. They had a good undercard too. Very solid undercard with some names, top names that Top Rank has. And the numbers weren't that great. Bob Arum himself said it was terrible, not good. And I think that stems from, hey, this is not the fight we want. We want to see Pacquiao versus Crawford, Pacquiao versus Amir Khan, Pacquiao versus Broner, something. Why are you giving us Bradley 3? So, I don't know. I just think boxing fans really, if you care, then if you're a true boxing fan, this should bother you when things like this happen. I understand, oh, this is my favorite fighter and I want to ride or die, but you got to be realistic with yourself. And like I said, even the writers are coming around. This is sheer absurdity to not make the Canelo Triple G fight. And again, if Canelo doesn't want to move up to 160 to fight Golovkin, fine. Maybe another guy at 160. Nope, not even that. Okay, you want to drop back to 54, and then you fight the guy that is least known, you know what I mean, at 154 out of the top names. If you look at the top 10 and then you ask fans who they want to see him fight, I guarantee you Liam Smith would be somewhere at the back of that list. So fans got to be realistic. Really, you really got to be realistic with yourself. Like, is this really what you want? I see fans like Canelo fans who are just trying to, in the comment section, try to justify it like, oh, this is a great fight, I'm certainly paying for this, hashtag Team Canelo. You don't look like a real boxing fan. Like, I'm not saying there's nobody that wants to see this fight, but I could tell by the structure of some of the comments that a lot of people don't believe what they say, and some of them are frequenters on my channel, and I've never heard them in past Canelo Con videos or past Canelo videos, never once heard them even mention the name Liam Smith until Golden Boy mentioned it. That's how you know it's not the fight that the public wanted. I've heard people ask for Canelo Triple G. I've heard people ask for, let's say, Earl Spence and Keith Thurman, or Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, or Broner, Danny Garcia. You know why? Because people want to see those fights, right? I've heard people ask and crave for Ward to move up and fight Kovalev, which is on the books. We're getting that fight because people want to see it. I don't recall a time where I said, before Golden Boy announced that Liam Smith was a potential candidate, I seriously, on all my videos, do not recall one single solitary time where someone said, you know what, the fight to be made is Canelo versus Liam Smith. That's the only fight I want to see at junior middleweight. I've never heard no one say that. The only time people started coming out the woodworks and emerging with this Liam Smith talk is after Golden Boy announced that this was possibly a candidate, or after they announced that this is who he is fighting. You got to be real with yourself. As a boxing fan, is that what you want? So if it is, pay for it. If it's not, you know the rest. Can't wait to see the numbers for this fight though. Thurman-Porter, they did everything that I expected and then some more for me. Like, I didn't know if it would be a non-stop. That was a frenetic pace. I think they said they threw like 1,100, 1,300 punches. Come on. And none of them went down, and they were getting melted with body shots and head shots and this man's chin. I mean, come on, man. So the game's getting tough, man. It's getting real tough, and it's going to be real hard, and it's going to get much harder to justify pay-per-views. Hey, if it's Ward Kovalev, I'll pay for it all day. Me as a boxing fan, I'm a true fan. If it's Terrence Crawford and Postol and I can't go to the fight, I'll pay for it because it's a meaningful fight. It actually matters and means something. I'm not paying for it if the fight doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything. Like even a fight like Mayweather Maidana won. I don't have a problem paying for that because Maidana was a champion in the first fight. Maidana's bigger than Floyd. He's younger than Floyd. He could crack. He had been looking better with Robert Garcia. You got to put things in perspective. Maidana was beasting through competition. He knocked out Jesus Soto Caras. He knocked out a bum in Argentina. He knocked out Josecito Lopez. Then he nearly knocked out Broner, hurt him bad, became the first to knock him down as a pro, something other guys like Sean Porter, who just had a war, he didn't knock Broner down. You know what I mean? Other guys didn't knock Broner down. So, and then he beat Broner, became a champion. It is what it is. And finally, I gotta leave with saying this. If you guys recall, Oscar De La Hoya wrote this letter. It was a Dear Floyd letter to Floyd Mayweather, and he wrote it to Playboy, or it was published by Playboy. And he says, Mayweather, let's face it, you were boring. Just take a look at your most recent performance, your last hurrah, 12-round decision against Andre Berto. How to describe it? A bust, a disaster, snooze fest. Another reason boxing is better off without you. You were afraid. Afraid of taking chances. Afraid of risk. A perfect example is your greatest triumph, the long-awaited record-breaking fight between you and Manny Pacquiao. You promised action and entertainment and a battle for the ages, and you delivered none of the above. So, I mean, if that's the real, I mean, you wrote this long letter, and that's really how you feel, and you give us Canelo versus Liam Smith. I personally, I don't know what you guys feel. I liked the Pacquiao fight. I mean, it happened and played out just as I suspected. Pacquiao game and weird and hard to time. Could possibly clip Floyd and make him buckle down, which happened in the 4th round. And to me, fights like that, it's like a high-speed chess match. And Pacquiao's so erratic that anything can happen at any given time. You know what I mean? Like if he catches you right, you don't know. You know what I mean? He has power. So you seen what he did to Bradley after he lost to Mayweather. He knocked him down twice. He looked sharp. And to me, I thought Bradley was winning. See, this is the thing. If you look at the Pacquiao-Bradley 2nd and 3rd fight, I had Bradley winning in the first part. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Pacquiao got game, started banging his gloves together, and then started piecing Bradley up and took over and clearly won the fight. So that's what it is with Pacquiao. He's a whirlwind. So I didn't have a problem with that because it's good to the last drop where you want to keep watching just to see. Maybe Pacquiao can turn it on and figure, wait, he's that awkward, right? But who's really picking Liam Smith to do all that, right? Against Canelo. Could he give Canelo a good fight? Possibly. But you go back to what it says, I got into this business to take chances. I took on all comers in their prime. Like I said in this video, Oscar De La Hoya has a great resume. The evidence, I lost 6 times. Maybe Canelo would lose if he fought Triple G or somebody else, you know what I mean, who's maybe ranked higher than Liam Smith. But you can't say, oh, boxing is better off without you because you were afraid. You're afraid of taking chances, afraid of risk, and then you really sell us Canelo, Liam Smith on pay-per-view. I don't know. It's just, it doesn't make sense. But you guys can read it. It's on Playboy. You can read the whole letter. It's a long letter. Now that you're stepping aside, attention can be turned into the sport's real stars, the brawlers, the brave, the boxers who want nothing more than to face the best and therefore be the best. There's Canelo, Kazakhstan KO sensation Gennady Golovkin. So you just put the 2 people that fans want to see right next to him in your Dear Floyd letter, but you're not giving us this fight until maybe 2017 in the fall. Not even soon, not even in like March of 2017, in the fall. And there's a verbal agreement that Tom Loeffler is disputing and saying, hey, no, there's no verbal agreement. So it doesn't make sense than to face the best and therefore be the best. There's Canelo and Triple G. So I don't want to hear this, oh, Triple G's not a star, the fight has to marinate. You just said, now that you're stepping aside Floyd, the attention can be turned to the sport's real stars, the brawlers and the brave, right? The boxers who want nothing more than to face the best and therefore be the best. And then the first 2 people you named is one, your fighter, Canelo, who doesn't look so brave vacating his belt. And then the Kazakhstan KO sensation Gennady Golovkin. So you admit he's a brawler, he's brave, and he wants nothing more to be the best because you included him in this, right? You included him along with Roman Chocolatito, Sergey, who's fighting Andre Ward, Terrence Crawford, who's fighting Victor Postol, Lomachenko, who moved up in weight, knocked out champion, and Keith Thurman, who just gave us an epic war, right? That's crazy. You say it's the best of the best and move Floyd and make way for this new wave. There's Canelo and Triple G, but that's the fan-friendly fight that will do great numbers and fans want to see it, but we can't get it. So Floyd stepped aside just like you wanted. It's not making sense. You leave it in the comment section. Let me know. Tell me I'm lying. I wish you guys would. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.
You don't feel it, then it must be too real to touch. You'll never in your life try to knock the truth. The illest shit ever. Get ready, cause this is about to get heavy.
Trying to keep me out. Trying to censor what I say, cause they don't like what I'm talking about. So what's wrong with the media today?
Prove I'm lying if I ain't correct.
So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.